Oh, hey, we're getting unwhelmed. Good morning. It is Friday, and welcome to our free Friday Unwhelminar. We are broadcasting live on the Face Places, and someday I will be savvy enough to also broadcast live on the Instagrizzles and some other places, but right now this is what you get. My kids have informed me that Facebook is for old people, and I tell them that that's fine. It means that I've survived longer than they have. Yeah.
I love it.
So this morning we have such a fantastic guest with us, and I'm very excited. But as is usual, I use the first few minutes of the Unwhelminar to do some advertising and to remind us of why we're here and what the hell are we doing. So welcome to Unwhelminars, brought to you by Unwhelm Coaching every Friday. Our free Friday Unwhelminars are business support and advice from women for women, and it is a series of the most fabulous, badass business women that I know, and it gives me a fantastic chance to get to know people, to make connections, to build our community. The Unwhelmed community is, of course, where all the cool kids hang out. So with that, I want to tell you about some exciting things coming up with Unwhelmed Coaching, little advertisement, and then we'll hop into a conversation. There are a couple of things coming up if you are in the Santa Fe area, and that includes Albuquerque or, I don't know, Phoenix, Arizona, if you happen to be coming to us from Phoenix. It's a short drive, Jen. We are next week having I'm calling it the ironic grand opening, because I've been doing business for a while, but I have not had a fantastic ribbon cutting and grand opening. And thanks to the Santa Fe Chamber of Commerce, I have the opportunity to do just that. And it's a couple of great things. First, it's a chance for me to talk about Unwhelmed Coaching for a few minutes, which, as you know, is a little difficult for me, but I'll work on some notes. And I understand there are refreshments involved, which I did not know. I mean, who's not going to show up for free snacks? And it's a photo op, and who doesn't want their picture taken with me? I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? The other thing that's really cool about it is I might be among the last few ribbon cuttings at this particular location for the Santa Fe Chamber of Commerce. So I feel like it's pretty cool that we get to wrap it up that way. But it is going to be fun, and I will have some giveaways in addition to goodies to eat. There will be goodies to keep as well. Also, if you happen to be in the Santa Fe area, we are doing something so cool next Friday. I'm looking at my calendar, the 28th, Friday the 28th at Cafe Greco on Canyon Road in Santa Fe. We are having our very first Friday at 4. Fridays at 4 are a chance for a group of women who are in business, doing business, own businesses, do business with other businesses, or just happen to be in the area to come together for a women's only networking event. Networking event is a little bit of a fancy term for what we're doing. It's really a community meetup. So it's an opportunity for you to hype your projects or your business or yourself and to get hype from other women. So if you are a woman in business, thinking about business, doing business, and you are looking for supportive and loving community, you are ready to smash the patriarchy one meetup at a time, and you're just looking for your people, this is the place. We will be shifting locations and Fridays. So it'll always, of course, be a Friday at 4 because it's called Friday at 4, but we will pick a date that works for the community calendar and holidays, et cetera, et cetera. So this is going to be super exciting, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Cafe Greco. I will tell you that it is no registration required, but we would love to know if you're coming. You can go to unwhelmcoaching.com and check out the What's Happening tab and see all of our cool events on the calendar. It is a no reservation required, no host, no agenda, no bullshit meetup for powerful boss babes, or whatever you want to call yourself. So we hope that you will join us. Other exciting things on the horizon in November, we will be launching our paid membership site, which is going to be full of incredible value, but we will talk about that another time. You can also go to the website to find out that information. We are also celebrating the launch of my book, the Unwhelmed book. I mean, that makes my heart have a couple of palpitations because it's not quite ready. And I mean, I write stuff all the time, but putting it between a cover, a front and back cover, and putting my name on it, that somehow that feels a lot more pressure. It's probably not, and you're all going to love it, and you'll pass it on to all your friends, I promise. So we have so much exciting stuff on the horizon. The other event that I really want to highlight, if you happen to be in Santa Fe, is sold out, but there are still sponsorship opportunities available, and that is the Women's Leadership Luncheon sponsored by, oh, who else? The Santa Fe Chamber of Commerce. We'll talk a little bit about that a little later in the program with Bridget, but I do want to highlight the fact that there are sponsorships available, and there will be an opportunity to really connect with some incredible women in the Santa Fe community. So if you're in Santa Fe, you're a woman-owned business, I encourage you to go to santafechamber.com and click on the Women's Luncheon and click on the button that says for more information, or simply email the chamber at info@santafechamber.com. Okay, that is the commercial portion of our show. And now we will move to one of my favorite things, which is our grounding exercise. And so if you're listening to this, as usual, if you're driving or walking or operating machinery or supervising children, just keep your eyes open. If you are not, then please feel free to make yourself comfortable, center your booty on whatever you're sitting on, make sure your feet are connected to the earth, and roll your shoulders up and back. Move your head side to side and kind of move your spine a little bit, just keep from being so static. And when you're ready, if you're comfortable closing your eyes, please do so, or simply rest your gaze somewhere softly in your environment. And with me, we'll take a big deep breath in through your nose and out. And in and out. You can let your breathing return to normal and simply be aware of where the breath is moving through your body. You may notice it as you breathe in through your nose or down through the back of your throat, filling your rib cage, maybe even sinking deep into your belly and moving your diaphragm. Just be aware. The simple act of being aware and observing our breathing changes the way that we are breathing, and it slows our heart rate. It deepens and slows our respirations. And those things allow space for creativity and relaxation and peace. And we all need those. Know that any time during the day that you feel the need for that slowing down, you can come right back here in the space of 2 breaths. Centering your breath once more and focusing on an intention for the day or something you're grateful for. One more big breath in and out. And when you're ready, you're going to open your eyes and join us back in the room. Thank you. That's always my favorite piece of the Unwhelminar, which is probably a lie because I'm going to say later that something else is my favorite piece of the Unwhelminar. But you know what? It's my Unwhelminar. I'll say whatever the hell I want. This morning we have a guest with us who has so much energy and verve and spice that she makes me look pretty mellow. So I love hanging out with her. She is the first female CEO of the Santa Fe Chamber of Commerce. She has a wildly varied background of skills, abilities, experience that bring her to this position. And what we're going to talk about today, among other things, is the way that she leads with her heart and from her convictions, and how that informs nonprofit leadership on a pretty large scale. So I am so pleased to have with us today Bridget Dixon from the Santa Fe Chamber of Commerce. Yay, Bridget!
I don't believe that. You have more energy than I do. I'm impressed with your energy level.
Well, I feel like we're pretty much a double threat. People should just do what we say or get out of the way.
We are double the treble. Yep, thank you for having me. This is fun. I have a radio show, but I'm used to doing the interviewing, so I'm not used to talking about myself. I'm shy.
I love this. It makes me really happy. I love the opportunity for people to get to know you as a person just a little bit better. You live a life that is absolutely full of service, and you are, I would describe you as a servant leader. You are really there for your constituents, for your board members, for your members. And as a result, your sparkle is really lent to the chamber, but you have such verve and sparkle. I think we need to celebrate you for just at least a minute.
Oh, well, thank you. I feel very, very, very blessed. I absolutely mean from the bottom of my heart that I love my job. I'm so fortunate that every day it's something new and exciting, and I really feel like we're making a difference.
Absolutely. So that actually brings me to one of my first questions that I have for you. And it is about the way that you make a difference in Santa Fe. So I was just going back and looking at some older news articles about when you first the chamber first brought you on as president. And at that time, which was this, this particular article was almost 3 years ago. And in the article, you talked about bringing a more diverse range of voices to the chamber in memberships, on the board, in leadership. And I just want to check in with you and see if you feel like you have made strides in that direction.
Great question. Absolutely. And I think we can always continue to improve and to do better. But that's something that was very, very important to me. I think oftentimes there can be this perception when people think of Chamber of Commerce, they're thinking, my grandpa used to belong to that. It's a bunch of good old boys. And not saying that that's what the Chamber was when I took over the position, but I did feel like we could have some more diversity. So it's been really important to me in my leadership that not only do we recognize every single business sector is represented on our chamber, but also that we have different age groups and we have more women. And just because truly that is what our community is comprised of. And that's what makes our community so beautiful is all the different cultures that we have to offer. So that's one area that I've really been working on.
Outstanding. I want to draw attention to one of your latest initiatives, and that's Fedia South Side. In Santa Fe, if you're not from Santa Fe or haven't been in Santa Fe, there are geographic sectors. Santa Fe is really concentrated in the downtown area. There's a ton of business there, and there's a lot of support for downtown and businesses around the plaza. Where we have not seen historically quite so much support is on the south side along Airport Road, where there are a lot of Spanish-speaking business owners and customers out there. And so Bridget has done enormous work to bring representation and to bring awareness to those businesses and to add support for them that is specifically tailored to them. So I wonder if you would take a minute to talk about the inaugural Feria South Side that was so amazing.
Absolutely. So I'm a native New Mexican. I was born and raised in Albuquerque, but my mom's from up north in Velarde. So some of you that are from Santa Fe may be familiar with it, Apple Country. So obviously, I really take a lot of pride in my Hispanic heritage. And it was something really important to me to really not only just bring our community together, but really honor all areas of our community. And as you mentioned, the South Side is an area with a tremendous amount of growth. That's where we have a lot of retail stores are going on there, a lot of chains. The airport is undergoing a tremendous amount of renovation. And in addition to that, we have Airport Road, which has hundreds and hundreds of businesses. And a couple of years ago, I wanted to do an article about the South Side and the different types of businesses And literally, there is not a business sector that you would be interested that is not available on the South Side, specifically Airport Road, whether you're looking for an attorney, an esthetician, you want tires, you want tortillas, whatever you want, it's there. So I really wanted to take an opportunity to recognize some of those wonderful businesses and introduce them to our community as a whole. Yes, I want tortillas as well. In the chat box, we want tortillas.
Mhm, mhm.
I'll make you some homemade tortillas. I make some good ones.
Oh,
They're not perfectly round though, but I
we're
can make
there.
them.
We are there for that.
They still taste the same. But nonetheless, we wanted to showcase those businesses. So when people are thinking of where can I get a birthday cake or who can do my catering, why not think of some of these wonderful businesses on the South Side? So we had Fetti South Side event, took place on August the 18th. And I cannot tell you just how incredibly well this event was received. We had 70 businesses that were showcasing themselves. I mean, I bought purses, I bought you name it. I bought beef jerky, I bought
Excellent.
everything. And we had great entertainment, axe throwing, folklorico dancing. Carlos Medina, well known comedian, was able to join us there as well. And we had over 600 attendees. So, what
Holy
that
cow.
says to me is that truly this is something that was needed. We do lots of wonderful things in the plaza, but why not move it to a different part of our community? And we've learned so much. So now we're going to get down to serious business. And beginning the first week of November, we're going to be offering some conversations in Spanish beginning, and then we'll do English on how to get a business license, how to get your CRS, how to become an LLC. And we're just going to walk people through that process. And any business that goes through that educational process with us, they're going to get a space at our upcoming Feria Southside Mercado, which is going to take place at the FOP in January. So we can give these wonderful businesses the opportunity to sell their products. So
That's
there's
fantastic.
my super short story that was really long.
No, that's great. That's what we're here for. I really am, I'm so honored by the work that you have done to really highlight those Southside businesses, and the work that you described around educating business owners or potential business owners, particularly in Spanish, is a really strong example of the way that you have, in your leadership at the chamber, you have really pushed to meet your members where they are. So you've expanded membership beyond sort of, typical folks that you would expect to see in the chamber membership, which are, sort of larger retail businesses and of course the big guns in the community who have lots of employees. But you have really brought a focus to small business, and in Santa Fe, small business is a huge percentage of our retail, our service providers, our leadership, and the fact that you are meeting our South Side business owners or potential business owners where they are in the language that they speak, bringing them the education that they need is really indicative to me of your commitment to diversifying the voices, making sure that we have a diversity of age groups, business types, languages, demographics represented at the chamber, and you're supporting them in ways that really make a concrete difference.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that. I love that, like I said, I love the work that we do. And, so the chamber, we have about 700 member businesses, but we truly consider ourselves the voice of our entire business community. But 80% of our members have fewer than 10 employees. So truly, that is a makeup of our business community. So absolutely, we do have some of those larger organizations, P&M, Christus, St. Vincent, Thornburg, all those businesses. But it's those tiny businesses. They're the ones that really, really need our support. And just if we can, just make a difference in their life and help to promote their business, that I feel like we have more work to do and we're here for a reason. We've been around 120 years.
Wow. Wow. Well, as a tiny business in Santa Fe who's getting support from the Chamber of Commerce, thank you. It's, just a tiny pitch for the chamber. There are business supports available to you at no charge that come with your membership that are really valuable. And if nothing else, when you attend a chamber event, you are bound to meet someone with whom you have something in common, or who can
Mhm.
support you, or you can support. And I really do feel like the chamber is in the business of community, just as Unwhelm Coaching is, and that your primary function in supporting businesses is to bring them together so that they can support one another. And it's really, your events are always, I mean, they always have great refreshments. So that's why I'm excited
Right?
about the ribbon cutting. And they have strong support. The chamber has strong reciprocal support. And so some of their larger members do take the opportunity to sponsor these events, and they really make it comfortable, welcoming, and always fantastic.
Well, thank you so much. And I just want to do a quick shout out to you for the work that you're doing to support women in our community, because as you know, that's an area that I also love to support women. And I'm definitely going to go check out your cocktail hour or your Friday at 4 on
So
the 28th. So count me in.
right on. Okay, you are currently registered. Um,
Awesome.
that brings me to this other event that I'm really excited about. And when you and I first talked months ago, you talked about this and it got me real excited. And in November, the chamber is sponsoring is this the seventh annual?
Seventh.
Seventh annual Women's Leadership Luncheon. And so I'm just gonna like hand you the microphone. I'm gonna let you tell us about it and tell us how it came about, why it's important to you, and importantly, how could people sponsor?
Thank you so much. And yes, many people have heard me tell this story before, but I'm sorry, I'm going to tell it again.
Do it.
So 7 years ago, a little more than 7 years ago, I was on a plane. I was at a chamber conference, and I was reading an article that Santa Fe had more women entrepreneurs than anywhere else in the country, and I just was astounded, like how little town Santa Fe has all these incredible women entrepreneurs. And I came back to speak to our president at the time, and I said, we need to do something to honor these women. Other chambers are having women leadership groups, and we need to do this as well. So that was the first year that we held our Women's Leadership Luncheon. At the time, the chair of our Santa Fe Chamber of Commerce board was Sayuri Yamada. Many of you know her. She's with P&M Resources. And I asked her if she would help me with this journey. And with her assistance, she was my MC. We went out to the community. And the biggest challenge we've always had is how do we just choose a few women to participate as our speakers, because there's so many incredible women. And the first year we had this event, we had about 120 attendees. This event now is over 300. We can't find venues that are large enough. And what I love about it is that it's so incredibly inspiring. When I tell you we are crying, we are laughing, we are feeling inspired, and it's just a magic that just happens. And I just can't tell you how incredibly blessed I feel to be part of this group. This year, it's going to be taking place on November the 18th. It's going to be at Bishop's Lodge. And as you mentioned, it did sell out. It sold out like literally over a week ago. However, another component we added to it is a Women in Power cocktail hour. So, woohoo! So, what you can do is you can participate in one of our Women in Power cocktail hour. They're only $25. Of course, we're the chamber. We're going to feed you. We're going to give you cocktails, and we're going to give you some great food. And we're going to have a different speaker. So it's November the 2nd, November the 9th, and November the 16th. We have a different sponsor, different speaker, different location. Tickets are only $25. So go onto our website, register for that immediately because it may sell out as well. And then also get yourself on the wait list for the Women's Leadership Luncheon on November the 18th. We are taking wait lists. It is possible things will open up. And what I love about this event, that even during the pandemic, we were able to host this. We held the event virtually in 2020, and we had 200 attendees spanning from California to New York City. And it's a conversation. It's like, how do we balance our work and our home life? What are those stories? It's a candid conversation. It's not your resume, but it's like, what did it take for you to get to where you're at? So that's my story. I love it.
That's the juice. That
That's
is
the juice.
what you're describing is it's the reason I'm in business. It's the phenomenon of women supporting women especially in a safe environment is is absolutely magic. And if you have the honor to hold that space, it is incredibly powerful to watch that magic happen, because all you have to do is bring the women together, ask a few questions, and then just step back. And then it is it's incredibly powerful.
Absolutely.
You and I talked a little bit some weeks ago. We were talking about the way that you have brought focus to women and the difference in the experience of women in business and men in business. And I wonder if you can talk a little bit about how your leadership style has changed, or how you've sort of walked into your power as a leader, and how that shapes what you do in the chamber.
Absolutely. And I think it didn't happen immediately overnight. I think that was my biggest challenge was I'd been with the chamber about 10 years at that point, and our previous president had been with the chamber for 20 years, and he's been such an incredible mentor to me, and he's still a dear friend. In fact, I called him last night to get his feedback. I'm always picking his brain. But I think one of the misconceptions that I think oftentimes women have is that we feel like we do have to lead, like maybe our male predecessor, but we're not. And that's one thing I love about your website is it really encourages women not to lead the way they think they should, but how they feel in their heart that they should. And for me, anybody that knows me, it's like I do wear my heart on my sleeve. And I think I wanted to come in here and I wanted to run things like Simon did, but I wasn't him. And I think the pandemic, as challenging as it was, it really gave me the opportunity to find my voice and to build those relationships and really think about how I wanted to lead our organization. What were the topics that were most important to me? And it's what we mentioned. It was about diversity, it was about being inclusive, and it was about collaborating and listening to those small businesses. And I think that's how I kind of approach every single day is, how can I make a difference? And I do lead with my heart. And I get emotional. I meet with businesses, they're telling me their stories, and sometimes I'm in tears. And at first and then I'm laughing. And at first I'm like, well, that's not professional. But that's fine. That's who I am. It's how I lead.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a real power in embracing that, because um, whether it's your intention or not, you are an example for other women in leadership, particularly in the nonprofit and the business sector. So you have this unique position where you sort of straddle both worlds. You support business, but your structure is a nonprofit. So you are a nonprofit leader and a business leader, both in the community. And when women see that you are leading and you don't hold back your emotions or try to lead in a sort of traditionally masculine way, I think it really frees up other women to do the same. I know that it
Well,
gives me an opportunity to have different conversations with you, which are really valuable to me.
well, thank you. And one initiative the chamber is currently working on is childcare. And I think when I first presented this to my board, they're like, childcare? And
Yep.
I think a lot of people are like, why is the chamber involved in childcare? Well, we're involved in childcare because that's what we need to be involved with.
Yeah.
We want to see recovery in our community. Well, this is what we need. One of the number one reasons why people are not returning back to work, and this is nothing new, and
Right.
this isn't just in our community, this is going across the entire country. It's the
Right.
lack of childcare. And if we want to support our business community, then we have to roll up our sleeves, and that's what we have to do. So we've put together an employer-based childcare. And anybody that will listen to me, I speak to elected officials, I speak to the mayor, and I've told the mayor, I'm like, this needs to be part of our mantra. This is no longer the days of saying it's a woman problem. Gone
Yeah.
are the days where we have to be quiet. Don't talk about your kids at
Right.
work. I mean, because we have to be inclusive. I mean, I had one of my team members, he brought in his baby, had a COVID baby. He brought in his baby for the first 9 months. And we were supportive because that's what we need to do as employers to support. And as we move forward, we need to think outside the box. So I invite people, if you're interested in learning about what we're working on, reach out to me. It's our employer-based childcare, and in a perfect world, if we could open up a collaborative childcare center where you can have spaces for your employees, wouldn't that just be the dream?
That would
So,
be absolutely amazing. I really
mhm,
appreciate that you say this isn't a woman problem. This is a business problem. This is a
mhm,
society problem, right?
absolute.
And just at a very basic economic level, if you're asking people to move their business headquarters or to locate themselves in Santa Fe or to open or expand business in Santa Fe, and they don't see that they have reliable, safe care for their children, that cuts out an entire percentage of the population, that really harms the community to not have them. It also is a huge, it's a huge red flag, I think, about the health of a community if we're not talking about family, if we're not, especially after COVID, when those boundaries have dissolved so much, if we're not recognizing the additional burden that women carry in 2022 as a general rule, still responsible for caring for the children and the elders of their families, then we are ignoring the fact that so many of our business owners and leaders are struggling, and then that impacts their ability to be creative, and it impacts their ability to lead. So it is a holistic problem, and I appreciate that you're looking for holistic answers.
And you totally nailed it. Not only is it childcare, but it's elderly care as well. That's what we hear oftentimes as well, is people are to need to help take care of their parents.
Yeah.
So I'm always telling when I'm speaking at breakfasts and after hours and meeting with different people that as employers, we really have to learn how to be flexible. And the days of offering vacation time and a 401k, yes, that's wonderful. But if you really want to get an employee to be with you for the long haul, you need to think creatively. You need to think about, can I subsidize their childcare? Can I give them a flexible work schedule where they can partially work from home? And they can, or can they bring their children to the office if
Right.
necessary?
Right.
But it's not an easy fix. There's lots of big brains that are working on the childcare, and we're just really fortunate. We're collaborating with Growing Up New Mexico and lots of other partners such as HomeWise. Everyone sees it, but I think if we come together, which that seems to be the theme
Yeah.
of at least since the pandemic, more so than ever, is collaboration. We're stronger when we come together.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the pleasure of meeting Dianza Valencia from AARP a couple of weeks ago. She's stationed in Albuquerque, but she talked about the sandwich generation. And that's
Oh.
the generation of folks who are caring for both their children and their parents or their elder relatives. And that the she spoke to intersectionality, which is a topic that I will stand on a soapbox for hours about. And that's that, let's say I am trying to run a business or even just work in a business, but I have no childcare and I have no elder care. Then COVID
Right.
hits and you're working from home. Your maybe your day solutions like childcare for your kids or school is not available to you, and you can't find a nurse to help you with your elderly parent because COVID has hit so many of us, and because funding is scarce, and because
Hmm.
that means that it's not just that you're a little bit like you're struggling because you're working from home, and then it's a layer where you have your kids to care for, a layer where you have your parents to care for. All of this is intersectional, and it means that it's exponentially more challenging. So, I mean, think about if you've got one child who's napping at home versus three who are awake. It's not just like three times harder when you have three kids to entertain. It's this cascading effect. So it's really, really vital. I just want to highlight that one of the things I researched during at the very beginning of COVID was female leadership and the difference in public health response. And there is a ton of research. Anybody, most of us already know this, but we do now have some empirical data to back it up that when women are in power, they do listen to a larger variety of voices. And they are more inclined to place community needs at the center of conversations. So when you're talking about like when your employee, especially your male employee, brought his baby to the office, if you're sitting with a baby in your office, it's going to shape your conversations a little bit differently. You're going to be thinking about the most vulnerable members of your community instead of how to increase corporate profits. You'll be thinking about how do I share those resources so that this tiny little person who just smiled at me and melted my heart is cared for, right? I mean, it makes
Exactly.
a difference.
Well, and that's how we go back to what you'd mentioned, how women lead differently than men. That's what it is. It pulls at our heartstrings when you see that baby.
Heck yeah. Yeah. It's why I encourage all clients or really anybody to feel free to send me pictures of babies or pets. That's
I
fine.
agree 100%.
Yeah. Just, I had a conversation with one of my clients this morning. She said, do I have a meeting with Michaela this week? And who is she? Because she just texted me a picture of her dog and I fully support that. I thought, that's the kind of business I'm running. Yes.
I love that. Good for you.
That's how we roll. There's no such thing as too many pictures of your cat or your dog or gerbil or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
I do want to kind of narrow this lens just a little bit, because one of the conversations I had last week with our guest, Jennifer Kleffner of Miles Away Farm, was this concept of there is never a wrong time or it's never too late to sort of reinvent yourself. And I was just reading a little bit about your background, and I was reading about your tenure with the chamber. I mean, you've been with the chamber for 12 years in so many different positions, doing so many different things. And I'd love for you to talk about the sort of journey of how you got here, because it wasn't it's not a linear progression.
Yes, I'm embarrassed to say, I shouldn't say this. I didn't know what a chamber really did.
Don't be embarrassed. That's fantastic.
I was like going, I think my grandpa belonged to one. No, I'm kidding. No, I knew they supported the community. That I knew. But I did have a long, long career, over 2 decades of being in the travel industry, and literally every aspect of the travel community you could imagine. I ran a travel school. I know some people are like going, what is a travel school? Hard to believe there was actually a school that you'd go get a certificate in so you could learn how to be a travel agent or work at an airline or a hotel. So I ran a travel school for many, many years. I managed a travel agency. I worked at a wholesaler for Hawaii, where I used to escort travel agents to Hawaii to do site inspections of hotels. So basically, that was my world. I did everything revolving around the travel industry. And when I had my children, it was really important to me for me to spend some extra time with them. So I went to working part-time. So I did a little bit of travel on the weekends, and then I was a fitness instructor and I was home with my girls. And as my kids started to get a little bit older and they were both in elementary school, I heard about a job at the Chamber of Commerce running their travel program. And the Chamber has been doing mission trips for well over a decade. We started taking travelers to China, and today we still do travel. We've taken 2,000 people out literally all over the world. And I came in working like 10, 15 hours a week, basically promoting mission trips. And I got in there and I absolutely loved everything that we do. And I have a little bit of ADHD and I have a hard time staying focused on one thing. And what I loved is they were doing so many things. They're supporting businesses, they're doing after hours, they're lobbying, they're doing advocacy, working in education. And I basically kind of came in and forced myself into everything. And I kind of joke with Simon that we never had this formal conversation of, would you like to increase your hours or do you want to take this on? I just basically felt like I would, and I did. I felt, I don't need to ask, I'm just going to do it. So that's what I did. I came in, I started handling membership sales. I was the program and events manager for several years. I became the vice president 6 years after I joined the chamber through a lot of hard work. My predecessor was very, very a great mentor for me and sent me to what they call Chamber Academy. So I spent 8 years getting trained on how to run a nonprofit organization. And I just kind of laughed because you never know where it's going to lead you. I thought I was just going to be booking trips to Tuscany and Spain. And
and here you are.
And here I am. And here I am. And I never considered myself one that was into politics,
Mhm.
but now I love it. I mean, I've got such a great relationship with our city councilors, our mayor, community leaders. And I'd say one of my biggest challenges is saying no. People tell me they have a problem. I go, oh, I can fix that. I know who can fix that. Let me see what I can do.
Yeah. Yeah. This journey that you're describing is very typical of so many of my clients and colleagues, where um, often the question is not what can I do, but what should I not do right now? And also, a lot of the time, mm, the folks that I just spend the best time with are folks that have arrived where they are organically, and they have not necessarily set out to go to college to get a degree that would inform a profession where they would stay, that they've had these moments, especially women, of reinvention, and that they're always journeys of the heart, and they're willing to take this leap and this risk because it means something to them. Also, not for nothing, we often show up and we see a job that needs to be done and we just go, I guess I'll just take care of it.
That's me.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I'll do
Yeah.
that, and I'll do that, and that.
Yep. Yep.
My mom always teases me. She's like, if you have 1 minute left, you have to fill it up. And I'm like, of
Yes.
course I do. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah. One of the lies my ADHD tells me is you've got time for that, right? Of
Of
course I do.
course.
But my ADHD is like, you can do this. No
Who
problem.
needs sleep? Sleep's way overrated.
That's right. When we get all the sleep I need when I'm dead.
That's what I always say.
That's right. That's right. You know, one of the things that I read about your personal life, and that you and I talked about maybe one of the first times we met, is your caminos. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about your experiences, what that sort of this transformation you felt, and how you ended up on these incredibly long walks.
Yes, thank you. And honestly, it's crazy. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think of something I experienced or saw in the Camino. And I love to talk about the Camino because I really did find it life changing.
Mm.
Several years ago, many years ago, I was on a chamber trip. I was escorting some chamber members to Fatima and Lourdes, and I saw this sign that said The Way. That movie had just come out, and it's a movie about a father whose son did the Camino de Santiago. And I came home and told my husband how incredibly intrigued I was. And I said, you know, when both our girls are in college, we're going to drop the younger one off to college, and 2 weeks later, you and I are going to go walk the Camino and figure out what our next steps are. And we did exactly that. And I thought it was just this hypothetical dream. And then the pandemic hit, and we're like, we're not going to be able to do this. And my husband said, you know what? We said years ago, after we drop off our youngest daughter at college, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And we did. So actually, a year ago, last month, my husband and I went to go do the Camino de Santiago. It's a 500-mile trek that begins in France. We did kind of cheat a little bit, so I'll be honest. It's kind of broken up into 3 stages. So we did the first stage, which goes through the Pyrenees, and we did the last stage, which takes you directly into Santiago. And really, we wanted to do it because as parents and as working full time, we've been putting all of our energy into our jobs and to our children. And we're going to be empty nesters. And the question is like, okay, what do we do from here? What are we going to talk about when we've been so immersed in our children for all these years? And, you know, it just gave us a chance that the only thing that we would think about is how far are we going to walk that day? And we would average between 12 to like 20 miles a day. Sometimes we're going up an elevation with just a backpack on. We'd get our clothes every few days. And I think it really surprised me how much I loved not having options. I mean, anybody that knows me, I like love hills and purses. That's kind of my thing. And I love my hair, my makeup, my shoes.
Sure.
And just to strip that all away, and all I could do was just talk about the moment. What
Mm.
was I seeing? Appreciating the landscape, and just really escaping and getting to know my husband in a way that I feel like I haven't done in over 2 decades, if ever, just to have those conversations. So it was such an incredible journey that we loved it so much. We just got back again. We did a different route. We did the Portuguese route, which started in Portugal, and it was incredible. And now he's determined to get me on the English route. But now I'm starting to ask the question of, can I take a vacation that does not require me walking 300 miles before I relax? Do I have to work so hard?
Uh-huh. Yeah. I know the first
So,
time that I went on a true vacation after my kids were born, they were high school and college age. And my husband and I took a month-long trip, and we spent 3 weeks of it in an immersive language school. And that
oh,
is, it was in Guadalajara, and it was not, that's not easy. We had this notion that we would go to school in the morning, and then the afternoons we would be immersed in the community. And you go and you're in class for 4 hours, your tongue is tired, your brain is tired. We slept a lot. And then that last week, we ended up just sort of randomly, based on weather, in Cancun. It was the first time I'd been, and like you, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa! Is this? Do normal people do this? Is this what it looks like? I had never had a vacation where I just relaxed. I was always seeing family or managing kids, and I'll tell you, I think it was a really good idea. So I highly recommend. So you should
oh,
do.
exactly. And I think people go like, "What are you, crazy?" And I'm like, it has all the components to a vacation. I mean, when you go on vacation, I mean, at least for me, I want to get physical activity. I love to work out. I want to eat well. I want to stay in fabulous places, and I
Mm,
want to get some sleep.
yeah.
And I want to hang out with my best friend. And I got a chance to do all of those
So cool.
every single day. So, yes, there was this little, 20-mile walk,
It's a
but
detail.
at least I didn't feel so guilty when I got to eat all that bread.
Well, yes. Yeah. I mean, if that's what it takes to eat your way through the country, I fully
Bread and
support
cheese.
that. Right on, right on, right on. Well, I do want to know if there are pieces that you see that you haven't quite been able to bring to fruition with the chamber, and maybe not even the chamber, but do you have dreams for Santa Fe, your community, New Mexico, that you love? If you could see one or two things really change to make things better, what's so close to your heart that you'd love to see come true?
Oh, it's so hard to choose. Well, housing is a big
Mm,
one. If we could really, really make a difference, and there's so many people like childcare, there's not an easy answer. And the chamber was very instrumental in putting together the Santa Fe Action Housing Coalition. So, along with other community leaders, they came together because, more than 50% of our workforce lives outside of Santa Fe. So, obviously, that's going to directly impact us having a really healthy economy and support a lot of these wonderful businesses that are coming up. So obviously, housing is probably would be the biggest one. Um, Childcare, obviously, as I mentioned earlier. And then, of course, the South Side. Wouldn't it be wonderful if, similar to the farmers market, that
yeah,
we could open up a building on the south side of town where we could have an ongoing opportunity like El Museo for
yeah,
these businesses, to the businesses that can't afford to open up their own brick and mortar, their own storefront, but have an opportunity to still share the wonderful, merchandise that they're creating, drawing, painting, arts, whatever they're involved with. So that would be a big dream. There's so many. I tell you, I wish there was more hours in the
yeah.
day, because anything I can get, we're really doing a lot of work to support our Santa Fe public schools, really doing a lot of work-based learning, supporting the work-based learning programs that are out there. So I am not even close to scratching the surface on the work that I want to do to support our community. I mean, I think my board, they're the ones that are always telling me,
Right.
okay, why don't you like finish this project before you add more?
Yeah.
I wanted to add on work on an ongoing women's program with you, and they're like, you need to just
Just take a minute, maybe
take a
not
minute, take a
right
minute.
away. We'll get there. I
I
have
was like, I know I can find that minute somewhere. I know it's there. Give me a minute to find it.
hold on, I got this. I got this. Let me just check my calendar. Yeah, I got you. I got you. Can you tell me if because you've done so much traveling, was there a community or a region or a country that you visited that you really saw this level of diversity that really is close to your heart, or that you saw a great representation?
I love Spain. I mean, I must. I keep going back there over and over and over again. I think what I love Spain, I feel like if I was born in another life, I was born in Spain. I just those are my people. I think they
Yeah.
really just know how to live. I think as Americans, we get so immersed in just working and working constantly, and just I think the ease of their life and just the beauty. I really understand why the Spaniards, why they came out to New Mexico,
Sure.
because it's just the landscape looks so similar,
Wow.
and just the beauty of it, and then the architecture that we've embraced. So I really do feel like that's where my heart is. And my husband and I kind of joke around that we want to go retire in Spain.
I think there are much worse ideas you could have.
Right, right. You've traveled a lot. What's your favorite place?
Oh, most of my travel has been stateside. And I got to tell you, coming as a transplant from Washington State to New Mexico, even though I was on the dry side of the state, the dry side of Washington is still 6 months of the year where you're looking at fog and clouds and dreary. And so, of all of the places that I have visited, I'm telling you, Santa Fe, New Mexico is probably my favorite. The fact that we get 320 average days a year of sunshine is life-saving for me. I spent decades battling seasonal affective disorder, and we got here and I'm like, I don't have seasonal affective disorder. I was just living in the wrong place.
Right, right.
Mhm.
And just the culture. I say, if you're going to live in a small town,
Yeah,
Santa Fe, I say all the time, is a small town to live in. So, as I mentioned, I grew up in Albuquerque. Albuquerque people don't get the whole Santa Fe thing.
I don't.
So, I have to say, I kind of came here kicking and screaming. I probably
Uh-huh.
shouldn't say that, but now it took me a few years. But I absolutely love Santa Fe. It's a very, very, very tight-knit community. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
People like to do business with who they know. And I always say that's why I believe the chamber really flourishes in this environment, because people do want to get to know you, and people want to promote you and pay it forward. And I love when I have a chamber breakfast and people are not talking about themselves, they're talking about their neighbor next to them and
Very
promoting
cool.
it.
Yeah.
And so we are very, very lucky, not only to live someplace beautiful, but a
Mhm.
place where people truly want to support you.
That has also been my experience. The chamber hosts a business over breakfast monthly, and it's sponsored by different chamber members. Last week was at the Food Depot here in Santa Fe, and it was amazing to get the opportunity to hear about the work the Food Depot is doing. And um, one of the components of business over breakfast is an opportunity to introduce your business. And it's always fascinating to me to hear the variety and the diversity of businesses that are represented. We have some of the largest employers in our community that are represented at those
Mhm.
events, but we also have, single entrepreneurs who are just getting started. And several times I've had the opportunity to just sort of step back and watch what's happening. And it is really phenomenal that the spirit of these breakfasts is, what can I do to support you? Who do I need to know in this room to connect with other people? And I have watched you, Bridget, do exactly what you're talking about. You ask people these really insightful questions that have them revealing not just what does your business do, but what is their motivation and what is important to you. And because you have this encyclopedic knowledge of who is doing business in the community, you go, I know who I need to connect you with. And a lot of the time at these events, you'll just walk right over and you make the handoff. And I think that's one of your biggest talents, is that you really do see this incredible level of connection within the community.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. And that's what I love. I love that. I love to ask people, what keeps you awake at night? I
Yeah.
mean, to hear people's stories is just so incredibly powerful. and how you can play a little part into making a difference. In fact, if I can just selfishly throw out my next
Please
breakfast,
do.
because it's going to be supporting our veterans. So our Business Over Breakfast typically is held on the second Friday of the month, but this one's going to be on the first because the 11th is Veterans Day. So it's November the 4th, and it's going to be at the Scottish Rite Temple, and it's sponsored by the Santa Fe New Mexican. And the whole theme of that breakfast is support for our veterans. So I welcome you, and bring your dad, bring your friend, bring whomever. Anyone is absolutely welcome at all times to a breakfast or after hours, and learn about the different veteran resources that are available, and just give us a chance to applaud you and your dedication to our country and the work that you've done. So that's November 4th. You can always register on santafechamber.com for the breakfast, but it's all about veterans on the 4th.
Very cool. And the Scottish Rite building here in Santa Fe is gorgeous.
It
I don't know
is,
how
and it
old
wasn't
it
open to
is.
the public before for
Yeah.
many. When I first moved here, I tried to go in there and they were not going to have it.
No, do you have your Masonic ring? No, you can't come in.
They're
Also,
like, no, you're going to,
so
you're not, you don't want to come in here. You want to go to the church down the street, is what they told me. My husband and I still laugh about that, but now it is open to the public. So you can go
fantastic.
check out the beautiful architecture.
It is really incredible. We are out of time. This has been a delightful conversation. I always love spending time with you, Bridget, and I'm pretty sure that at some point you and I are going to we're just going to do what we want to do, and people just have to come along. I think it's just easier if people just do it.
Right? Why don't they just go along with us? I tell my husband that all the time. Just agree with me and my kids.
That's right. That's right.
Life will be simpler.
I have a friend who says, why don't they just shortcut and do what you say anyway? That's what they're going to do.
We never even gave Jen a chance to talk.
Jen's like, I said I want tortillas. What else do you need?
Jen, I got you. I will make you tortillas.
Outstanding. So now she has another reason to come to Santa Fe. She's coming to us
Oh.
from Phoenix.
Oh.
And her husband is the former chamber director from Walla Walla,
Oh,
Washington.
wow. Oh, yes.
Right
Okay.
on.
I've
And
heard of Walla Walla.
there are such enormous similarities between Walla Walla and Santa Fe. The nearest sort of hub of larger cities is about an hour away. It's sort of this enclave of different politics within a larger political landscape that creates tension. It's a lot of overlapping culture. So a lot of the same kinds of groups in Walla Walla. When I moved to Santa Fe, I thought I was moving to a larger town, but you're absolutely right. It is a small town. So it was reassuring kind of to know that I was still in a small town.
Oh.
So come visit us in Santa Fe. Check out santafechamber.com. If you're not in Santa Fe, but coming for a visit, go there first and check out what events are happening, because it's a great way to meet people and to see what's happening in Santa Fe, particularly if you're considering doing business in Santa Fe. Once again, shout out to the Chamber for the Women's Leadership Luncheon, November 18. Get yourself on the wait list. Go purchase tickets for Women in Power Cocktail Hour. I will be doing that the minute I click end here. And please check out unwhelmcoaching.com, UNWHELM. And check out our exciting upcoming events if you're in Santa Fe. And if you are not in Santa Fe, we always do cool stuff online. You can join us here every Friday and check our rebroadcasts on YouTube, on our podcasts, and you can always find out the cool stuff with a free membership at unwhelmcoaching.com. Bridget, it is always so much fun spending time with you. Thank you so much for your time and your heart and your energy today, and for the heart and energy that you put into Santa Fe.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to see you, and I'll see you soon. And Jen, nice to meet you.
Have a great Friday.
Bye, ladies.
It is that you're listening to this. Take care. Oh, hey, we're getting unwhelmed. And as always, you can catch all of our recordings on our website at unwhelmcoaching.com.